Hello, everyone. We are going to do our very last section that we have here in Chapter 8. I know last week it felt like we went through a lot of stuff, and we did, but thankfully this week, this is the only new material that we have that we're going to add that you guys are going to test on next week for that Chapter 8 test. All right, so we're going through 8.5. 8.3 is all about standard form. That's that negative b over 2a to find your vertex. Then we had vertex form. That's a little bit easier. You're just looking right at your equation to find your vertex. We have one more format that we're going to learn before you guys are going to test next week, and that is what we call intercept form. Okay, so intercept form of a quadratic, it looks like this. It has maybe a number on the outside, some a value, and then x minus p and x minus q. Remember when we did vertex form, it looks like this. A, and then I've got this x minus h squared plus k, and my vertex is h, k. That minus h means that I have to switch the sign. If I have like x plus 2 squared plus 5, I know my vertex, I've switched that sign to negative 2, the 5 stays the same. It's just the same with intercept form, because I talk about p and q and what you need to do with those values. Don't forget, this is the same as that x minus h. Okay, if I gave you y equals x plus 3 and x minus 2, if you want to know what p and q are, you've got to switch those signs. So right here, plus 3 would switch to negative 3, and q, negative 2, switches to positive 2. I'm going to guarantee this is going to be one of the easiest ways to make mistakes here in intercept form, because actually when it's an intercept form, which is really just, notice that it's the same thing as factored form, like from chapter 7. When it's in that form, it's actually pretty simple to graph. Instead of the 5 points that we've been using, we're just going to use our 2 intercepts and our vertex. So really the only thing you need to plug in a number, find your value, is going to be the vertex. All right, I'm going to show you over here, kind of in your notes. I probably should have told you, we're on page 267 here in the student journal. I always forget to tell you the page number. All right, so we have this a, x minus p, x minus q. So I'm going to attach some numbers to this because I think it's easier to understand when we have some numbers with this. Okay, let's say this is y equals x plus 1, x minus 5. That looks like that could be about right. There's 3 points that we want to graph. We want to graph each x-intercept, and we want to graph our vertex. Okay, so the way we find our axis of symmetry, and which is also where our vertex is we use this little equation right here. Okay, so x is equal to p plus q divided by 2. Okay, so we want to know what p and q are. I remember you're swapping your signs. That's the easiest thing to forget. So plus 1 changes to negative 1. All right, and negative 5 changes to positive 5. You want to add them together, so negative 1 plus 5 divided by 2. You're finding the average of those two numbers because the vertex is halfway in between those two values. All right, so let's see, negative 1 plus 5, that's going to be 4 divided by 2. I get 2. Okay, so I know my axis of symmetry. Remember, that's the equation of the line. That's x equals 2. And I know my vertex is always at 2 something. I just realized this probably The math on this probably doesn't work out. I think I need a negative here for this math to work out with this graph. Okay, so if I want to find what is the y of my vertex, just like I've been doing this whole time, I'm going to add that negative so this actually makes sense. I'm going to plug in 2 plus 1, 2 minus 5. Okay, so I've got 3 times negative 3. Man. Yeah, I didn't need the plus sign. Sorry, guys, or the negative sign. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure it made sense of my graph since I'm making up these numbers. I get negative 9. Okay, so that's how you find your vertex. And your two intercepts are here. I've got one at negative 1, 0. I've got one at P. And I've got one at Q. I've got one at 5, 0. That's all that you need for these. Okay, if you're going to make a little X and Y chart, you want your vertex, so 2, negative 9. You want each one of your intercepts, which we can just find by looking at what P and Q are. Right? So this chapter's had a ton of information. This is one of the easier formats I'm going to have us use. And I'm always just going to give you the equation in factored form. I'm not going to make you factor these out, even though that's what we did in chapter 7. I want to keep this as easy as I can because I know it's been a bunch of new information. Right? I kind of went over that here. It's, again, just talking about when you have these P's and Q's, that's where your intercepts are. That's why we call this intercept form. All right. So the x-intercepts and axis of symmetry of this graph. So let's look over here at number 2. Okay. X-intercepts are just going to be P and Q. Okay, so P negative 2 changes to positive 2. Negative 3 changes to positive 3. So my x-intercepts are going to be 2, 0, and 3, 0. Okay, my axis of symmetry, remember that's P plus Q divided by 2. So 2 plus 3 divided by 2. I'm not going to simplify that any more than that. 5 halves. And I know it's x is equal to. Axis of symmetry, you always want to write in that equation form. Okay, I know some of us on the test are going to forget that. They're just going to say my axis of symmetry is 2 or my axis of symmetry is negative 3. You've always got to put that x equals. You got to tell me it's an equation. Okay, it's the easiest thing to forget. So just don't forget the formatting there. All right. So let's see. Let's look at let's look over here at number 4. Okay. Again, some of these harder ones like 5 and 6 where you'd have to factor it out yourself, I'm not going to have us do that. I'm just going to have us look right here at these already factored equations. Okay, I've got, first I want to think of what are my P and my Q. Okay, I've got this negative 3, which I want to change to positive, and a negative 1 that I'm also going to change to positive. Okay. So I know I've got x-intercepts. I've got one at 3, 0, and 1, 0. So I've got 2 of my points right there. And now I want to find my vertex. Okay, which my x is going to be this P plus Q all over 2. Okay, so 3 plus 1, it's halfway in between. 3 plus 1 divided by 2, again, 4 over 2. I get 2, but I always know that's just the x of my vertex. Just like always, I've got to plug that back in to my regular equation. So negative 4, I've got x minus 3, so 2 minus 3. And then x minus 1, so 2 minus 1. So negative 4, I get negative 1, and then negative 1. No, 2 minus 3. No, that's positive 1. That's why I shouldn't record these early in the morning. Negative 1 and positive 1. All right, -4 times -1 is +4 times +1 is still 4. That's the y of my vertex. Okay, so for these, we only need these 3 points. I know usually on the other types I wanted 5. When you have your vertex and your 2 x-intercepts, that's good enough. All right, so let's come up here with some x and y axes. There's my y. These could be a little straighter, that's okay. All right, so I want to draw right over here. I want to draw my x-intercepts, so I have one at 1, and I have one at 3. Then I have a vertex at, oh, that's at 4. I counted 3 from my first one. Okay, 1, and here is 3. Then I have a vertex here at 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. You can kind of see, I know it's only 3 points, but obviously these are going to connect up here to your vertex. That's what's going to make your little U shape. And then it's just going to continue on from there. All right, again, make it look as much like a U as you can. That didn't really help. Just try and not make it pointy. All right, that's really all I need to see. You just have a couple more graphing questions on this. That's our last assignment here for Chapter 8. You'll get a practice test the day that you're in class, and we'll be good to go. This is really the only thing that we're adding compared to the quiz that you took earlier this week. All right, I'll see you guys later.